There is a quiet rhythm beneath all things, a pulse behind the noise, the stillness, the struggle. Like waves returning to the ocean, our challenges are not interruptions but invitations. Life unfolding itself through us, not around us. Growth is not a destination, but a deep remembering and echo of something sacred we've always carried. The pain, the doubt, the long silences between chapters, these are not signs of failure, but movements in the great symphony of being. Even the stars were born in chaos, and still they shine with purpose. You are not lost, you are becoming. Every step you take, uncertain or sure, is part of the universe discovering itself through your form. No one is coming to save you because you were never abandoned. You are the miracle. You are the answer. And when you finally rise, not in triumph but in awareness, you'll see you were never meant to be rescued, only revealed. Let me tell you something that most people never stop long enough to realize: you're not separate from life. You are life. You are not some outsider peeking in, waiting for permission to grow, waiting for a sign or a rescuer to appear. No, you are woven into it. Just like the tides pull with the moon, just like the seasons come and go, you are a part of that same rhythm, that same force. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are becoming right on time. But the world doesn't exactly slow down to remind you of this, does it? It pushes and pulls. It bombards you with noise, with comparison, with distractions. You get so busy trying to keep up that you forget growth isn't about arriving. It's not a finish line. It's not something you can force or fake your way into. Growth is remembering that you are already everything you need to begin. Now here's where it gets tricky. We think growth is going to look like progress. Like forward motion, wins momentum, but the truth is growth often looks like confusion. It looks like sitting in silence wondering, what am I even doing with my life? It feels like starting over again. And again, it feels like doubt, frustration, loneliness, and guess what? That's not a sign that you're failing. That's the raw material of transformation. A tree doesn't fight the winter. It doesn't panic when its leaves fall. It doesn't sit there going, well, I guess I'm just not cut out for this. It trusts the process. It surrenders to the rhythm, and in that quiet, something happens, roots deepen, structure strengthens. All the growth is underground, but it's still growth. You're the same. Life isn't waiting for you to hustle harder or prove yourself. Life is waiting for you to wake up to the fact that everything you're searching for out there, validation, peace, clarity, confidence, it's already inside you. That still small voice inside, that gut instinct you keep silencing with overthinking, that's life, that's your knowing, that's your GPS, and look, I get it. The idea that you are life unfolding sounds poetic, maybe even out of reach, but it's actually the most practical truth in the world. Because once you really understand that you're not behind, that you're not late, that you're not waiting for permission, then you stop outsourcing your power. You stop waiting for the right moment, the right person, the right opportunity to finally become who you already are. Here's something nobody tells you. Most people spend their entire lives waiting to feel ready, waiting for the fear to go away, waiting to be rescued by something or someone, money, love, confidence, time. But there is no rescue mission coming. And that's not something to fear, it's something to celebrate. Because when you stop waiting, when you fully grasp that it's on you, that growth is your job, you reclaim your power. That's when things start to move. Not because the fear disappears, but because you do it anyway. You show up messy, unsure, imperfect, but willing, and that's the key. It's not about having it all figured out. It's about realizing that your life is not a problem to be solved, it's a process to be lived. A sacred, messy, unpredictable, beautiful process. So if you're in the thick of it right now, if you're tired, unsure, wondering if you're even on the right path, just breathe. You're not broken, you're not lost. You're in it, you're alive, you're growing, and here's what I want you to remember. You are not waiting for life, life is waiting for you to remember who you are. Let's talk about challenges because this is where most people tap out. This is where the voice in your head gets loud and the doubts start to multiply. When things get hard, when plans fall apart, when the doors don't open. The reflex is to think something's wrong, to think you're on the wrong path, or maybe you're just not cut out for it. But what if I told you that those exact moments, the ones that feel the heaviest, the most uncertain, are actually the most sacred? See, we're conditioned to view discomfort as failure, struggle as punishment. Like life is somehow against us. But here's what's really happening. Life is teaching you, molding you, giving you the exact conditions you need, not to stay comfortable, but to wake up, to grow. Every challenge is a form of intelligence, a message tailored specifically to you, whispering, "This is where you become." And I get it. When you're in it, when the storm is raging, that's the last thing you want to hear. You want relief, you want answers, but the truth is, your greatest breakthroughs don't come wrapped in clarity, they come disguised as chaos. And your job isn't to avoid the pain, your job is to listen, to lean in, because if you're willing to stay with it, not run, not numb, not distract, there is gold on the other side. Think about it. Who would you be without the hard seasons you've already survived? The ones you didn't think you'd make it through, but somehow did. Those moments shaped you. They forced you to dig deeper. They peeled back the layers of who you thought you were so you could meet the person you really are. That's not failure. That's fire. That's refinement. That's the soul doing its work. But here's what trips most people up. They expect growth to feel good. They want a transformation that doesn't rattle the cage. That doesn't require surrender, but that's not how it works. Real growth feels like discomfort. It feels like friction. It feels like being stretched into a version of yourself you haven't yet met. Because that's the only way you do meet that version of you. Not by staying in what's easy or certain, but by stepping into what scares you, into the unknown, into the resistance. And instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "What is this trying to show me?" Every challenge, every delay, betrayal, failure, loss, it's not the end of your story. It's a chapter, and chapters don't define the whole book. They move the plot forward, they build tension, they shift direction, and yes, sometimes they break your heart, but they also expand your capacity. They carve space for something greater to move through you. And I want to be clear, this doesn't mean you have to like the pain. This doesn't mean pretending everything's okay when it's not. What it means is not mistaking pain for the absence of purpose. Just because it hurts doesn't mean it's meaningless. In fact, it probably means you're right on time. There's a quote I love that says, "The wound is where the light enters you." That's not poetic fluff. That's the truth. The places where you've been cracked open, those are the places where wisdom grows, where courage is born, where your authenticity lives. You're not being punished, you're being initiated. And you're not alone in it, even when it feels that way. Everyone you admire, everyone who's built anything real, they've been through this. They've walked through their own fire, and what got them to the other side wasn't luck or timing, it was their willingness to keep going. To get up again, to learn, to listen. So here's the invitation. Instead of resisting the challenge, get curious about it. What's it revealing in you? What's it burning away that no longer serves who you're becoming? Because sometimes the breakdown is the breakthrough. Sometimes the struggle is the signal that you're stepping into something greater. This isn't the part where you give up. This is the part where you grow. Because the challenge isn't in your way, it is the way. Let's clear something up right now. No one is coming. I don't say that to scare you. I say it to free you. Because the minute you stop waiting to be saved, your entire life starts to change. Think about how much time we spend hoping something or someone will show up and fix it. A better boss, a relationship, a miracle opportunity, a sign from the universe that says, "Now you can begin." But that sign, it's not coming, not in the way you think, and that's the best news you could hear, because when no one's coming to save you, You realize it's on you. And when it's on you, you wake up. You stop handing your power over to things you can't control. You stop outsourcing your courage. You stop waiting and you start moving. We're raised on the idea that someday something will click, that we'll be chosen, that we'll be discovered. But here's the truth. You don't need to be discovered, you need to decide. You need to decide that your life matters enough to take the next step, even when no one's watching, even when no one's clapping, even when there's no applause, no guarantees, no map. Because that's what growth actually looks like. It's not this big cinematic moment. It's you alone in a quiet room, choosing to keep going anyway. And I get it, responsibility can feel heavy. The thought that no one's coming might sting a little at first. But lean into that feeling, because right behind it is your freedom. The kind of freedom that comes when you stop waiting for permission. When you stop living your life like it's a rehearsal. Nobody is coming to knock on your door with the exact words you need to hear. Nobody is showing up with the perfect plan, the guaranteed outcome, the shortcut through the hard parts. That's your job, that's your work to do, and it's sacred work because it belongs to you. Here's the part most people don't want to admit. Waiting is comfortable. It's safe because when you're waiting, you don't have to risk anything. You don't have to fail. You don't have to be seen. But what you do risk, your future, your peace, your potential, and that price is way too high. You already know what needs to happen. That's the wild thing most people know. Deep down, they know what they want, or at least what they need to leave behind. They know what next step would move the needle. But they don't take it because they're still waiting for confidence, for clarity, for someone to say, yes, you're good enough. Yes, you can do this. But that's not how this works. Confidence doesn't come first, action does. Confidence is something you earn by proving to yourself that you can keep showing up. Even when it's hard, even when it's messy, even when you're scared out of your mind. And that's why taking responsibility for your own growth isn't just about discipline, it's about trust. Trusting that you have what it takes to figure it out as you go. Trusting that even if it doesn't work out how you thought it would, you will still be okay. That kind of trust only comes from experience, from taking the step, from becoming the person who doesn't need saving because you know how to show up for yourself. That doesn't mean you won't ever need help. It doesn't mean doing it alone. It means that even when help comes, even when support shows up, you're not relying on it. You've already decided to rise, and that decision, that's where your power lies. So the next time you catch yourself waiting for the timing to be right, waiting for someone to choose you, waiting for life to feel easier, pause. Ask yourself, what if no one's coming? And then remind yourself, good, because if no one's coming, that means the next move is mine. That means the pen is in my hand. That means I don't have to wait, I get to begin. You're not here to be rescued. You're here to remember that you've always had the power to save yourself. Let's talk about silence, because it's in those quiet moments, the pauses between the action, the waiting, the uncertainty that most people start to panic. They think something's wrong, that they're stuck, that nothing's happening. But silence is not the absence of progress. It's not a void. It's not a dead zone where dreams go to die. Silence is where the most important transformations happen. See, we've been trained to equate growth with movement, with momentum, with noise, hustle, output, results. We've been told that if we're not busy, we're behind. If we're not achieving, we're wasting time. But that couldn't be further from the truth. There is a kind of sacred work that only happens in the stillness, the kind of growth that doesn't announce itself, that doesn't show up on your timeline or in your bank account right away. It's internal, invisible, and unbelievably powerful. When a seed is buried underground, it looks like nothing is happening. It's just dirt, just darkness. But what's actually happening beneath the surface? Everything. That seed is cracking open. It's stretching, rooting, becoming. And if you judged it too soon, if you dug it up and said, nothing's growing, you'd miss the miracle. You're the same way. There are going to be seasons in your life where it feels like nothing's moving. Like you're showing up, doing the work, and getting nothing in return. Where you can't hear the answers, you can't see the path, and you're starting to wonder if the silence means you've been forgotten. You haven't been forgotten. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. That silence, it's not a setback. It's a signal. It's life asking you to listen, to go deeper, to sit with yourself long enough to hear what's actually true, not the noise of the world, but the wisdom inside you. That still, small voice, that's your compass, but you'll only hear it when you stop running from the quiet. We avoid silence because it's uncomfortable, because it reveals things. It forces us to feel what we've been trying to outrun. The doubt, the grief, the questions, the truth we're not quite ready to face. But here's the thing. Everything you're avoiding holds the key to your growth, and the silence is how you access it. It's in those quiet moments that you begin to remember who you are, what matters, what you want, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard to sit still when you're used to proving your worth by doing. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is pause, stop chasing, stop fixing, and trust that growth is still happening even when it doesn't feel like it. Because when you can learn to honor the silence, not fear it, you become dangerous. You stop reacting, you start responding. You move with clarity instead of chaos, with purpose instead of panic, and the people around you will feel that shift even if they can't explain it. Silence creates space, space to recalibrate, to reconnect, to rise with intention instead of running on autopilot. But you have to give yourself permission to be there, to be in the in-between, to be unfinished, because that's where the real work happens. Look, not every part of your life is going to make sense while you're living it. Not every season will come with a map or a mission statement, but that doesn't mean it's meaningless. Some chapters are meant to slow you down, to strip away the noise, so you can hear your own voice again. So you can become someone you couldn't have become any other way. So if you're in a season right now where it feels like nothing's happening, where you're waiting or resting or just not sure, don't rush it. Don't fill the silence just because it's uncomfortable. Let it work on you. Let it shape you. That's part of the process too, because just like a song needs silence between the notes, your life needs stillness between the leaps. And in that stillness, everything begins. Let's talk about something we don't talk about enough when it comes to growth: consistency. Not the sexy kind, not the highlight reel. I'm talking about the small, boring, unglamorous decisions you make every single day when no one's watching. The ones that don't get applause, the ones that feel like they're not adding up to anything, but they are. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Real growth isn't dramatic. It's not some big epiphany or overnight transformation. It's not about one massive leap. It's about the tiny pivots, the quiet choices, the daily showing up again and again and again. We all want the breakthrough. We want the big win, the moment that changes everything. But those moments, they're rare, and they're built on top of the 1,000 invisible moments that came before them. The early mornings, the showing up to the gym when you don't feel like it, the 5-minute journaling when your brain is foggy, the reaching out, the not quitting. That's the real work. You can't control the timing of your breakthrough, but you can control the rhythm of your effort. You can control whether or not you keep showing up for your future self when the results haven't caught up yet. And that's where most people give up. They confuse slow results with failure. But slow isn't failure. Slow is real, and real lasts. We live in a world that glorifies speed, fast success, fast money, fast fixes. And that mentality is a trap. Because anything worth building, your health, your business, your relationships, yourself, worth, it takes time, it takes roots, it takes consistency, not perfection, not intensity, but showing up day after day with a willingness to try again. And I know what you might be thinking, but I've been trying and nothing's changing. And to that I say, keep going, because the effort is never wasted. even when it feels like it is. You're building strength, you're building character, you're rewiring patterns that took years to create. You're becoming someone new, and that doesn't happen in a weekend. It happens in the repetition. The real shift happens the moment you realize growth isn't about motivation, it's about discipline. It's about committing to the process even when your emotions want to bail. It's about doing the thing not because it's exciting, but because you made a decision to become someone who doesn't quit on themselves. Discipline is love. That's what it is. It's choosing what you want most over what you want right now. It's taking care of your future self by honoring your commitments today. And no, it's not always fun, but it is freeing. Because once you build the habit of following through, not perfectly, but consistently, you start to trust yourself again. And that trust, that's the foundation of everything. You don't need to be the most talented or the most confident. You just need to be willing to show up, willing to try, willing to fail and come back again. The compound effect of those choices is real, but most people never get to experience it because they quit before it kicks in. It's like planting bamboo. You water that seed every day. Nothing happens. Not for weeks, not for months, sometimes not for years, and then one day it shoots up, grows 90 feet in a matter of weeks. Did it grow in weeks? No. It grew in years underground, out of sight. That's what your consistent effort is doing right now. It's laying the groundwork for something bigger than you can imagine. But you don't get to see the harvest if you stop watering it. So if you're showing up right now and wondering if it's worth it, hear me on this. It is. The results may not be visible yet, but that doesn't mean nothing's happening. Keep doing the work. Keep honoring the process. Keep choosing to be the kind of person who doesn't give up on their future just because the present feels quiet. This is the part where you prove to yourself that you can be counted on. Because the magic isn't in the moment you arrive, it's in the moments you refuse to quit. Let's zoom out for a second. Because it's really easy to get so caught up in what's not working, in what hasn't happened yet, in all the things you still have to do that you forget something vital. You are already becoming right now. In real time, even when it doesn't feel like it. Especially when it doesn't feel like it. That's the wild thing about growth. It rarely shows up with a parade. It doesn't knock on your door and say, "Congratulations, you've leveled up." It just happens quietly, subtly, through the friction, through the choices, through the days you showed up when it would have been easier not to. You might not even notice it at first. You're still dealing with the same life, still carrying some old habits, still working on the same dream that hasn't quite come to life yet. But then something happens, you react differently. You say no to something that used to pull you under. You stand up for yourself, you follow through, you take the step, and suddenly it hits you. You're not the same person you used to be. That's what becoming looks like. It's not about waking up one day fully formed and ready to crush life. It's about slowly becoming someone who's rooted, who knows how to navigate the storm without getting swallowed by it. Someone who doesn't just talk about the life they want, but builds it, piece by piece, day by day. And here's the thing, you don't need to rush to get there. Growth doesn't care about your timeline. It's not a race, it's a rhythm. You don't owe the world a finished version of yourself, you just owe yourself the truth. And the truth is, you're evolving, you're learning, you're becoming stronger in ways you can't always measure, and that matters. Sometimes we look at the distance between where we are and where we want to be, and it feels overwhelming. Like we'll never get there, but what you're forgetting is how far you've already come. You've already lived through things you thought would break you. You've already made decisions that the old you wouldn't have had the courage to make. That's not nothing, that's evidence. Evidence that you're capable, that you're becoming, that you're not stuck, you're in progress. You don't need to have it all figured out to trust that you're on the right track. Sometimes it's enough just to know that you're not willing to go back, that you're choosing something better even if it's slower, even if it's unclear, even if it's still unfolding. Becoming isn't about chasing some future version of yourself. It's about embodying more of who you already are. Every challenge you face peels back a layer. Every time you show up despite the fear, you step more fully into your potential, and that process doesn't end. That's the beauty of it. You're not a project to complete, you're a story in motion, and the story doesn't need to be dramatic to be meaningful. It just needs to be true. It needs to be yours. Growth is messy. Becoming is rarely linear, but it's always worthwhile. Because every time you choose to take responsibility, every time you choose to show up with intention, you're not just changing your life, you're changing your legacy. People around you are watching, not for perfection, but for evidence that it's possible to change, to rise, to evolve. And without even realizing it, your becoming gives them permission to begin their own. So no, it won't always be obvious. The shifts will be subtle, but they're happening right here, right now, in the way you show up, in the way you think, in the way you recover, in the way you keep choosing growth even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, you're not waiting to become someone, you are someone. And the more you trust that, the more powerfully you'll move through your life. You're not on the path, you are the path. Walk it, own it, and don't look back.